Hey Salukis, I'm Jeff Gleim, Executive Director of the SIU Alumni Association, and with me is Anna Twomey from the Alumni Association as well. And yes, we do have on the same outfit. We just ooze of Saluki spirit, and we love wearing the gear. So yes, and did we plan this? No, it just happened that way. So Anna, welcome. Here we are with another edition of Saluki Sleuths. This one in particular, I know we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it, but this one is a little different than our previous two. And if I may, just if you're new to Saluki Sleuths, our first episode aired back in March, correct?
That's yes, that's right. Back in March.
We were featuring the canon. And our second episode, which aired in April, we featured Fainer Hall. If you haven't had a chance to look at those, or you're wondering what is this Saluki Sleuth program, go back and take a look at it. I think you'll figure it out. And if not, you'll watch this one. You'll definitely figure it out. So Anna, let's talk about this edition of Saluki Sleuths. We're focusing on
the mascot.
Yes. So a little spirited here. Excited for folks to see what you discovered and uncovered. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about it without giving it all away?
Yeah, no, this is going to be a really fun episode because we are digging very deep into the mascot. Everything you may have wanted to know about the mascot, you'll know. Things you didn't even know you could know, you'll know after this episode, because we went straight to the source and spoke with Dee Dee Lingle-Ittner. Some people may remember her father, who was Leland Lingle, also known as Doc Lingle, and her family is the source of the Saluki mascot. So we're going to be hearing from them, and that's just a really special story to begin with. We get into a lot of history, and then Dee Dee also reveals some myths and legends about the mascot, things a lot of people don't know, including about the very first Saluki we had here on campus. She talks about that. We're also going to get to see the current live Salukis, the family that takes care of them and brings them to all the games. They have 8 Salukis, so it's quite a task. And then we're going to learn a little bit about some of the old costumes, which are really interesting if you've ever seen pictures of those. It's fascinating to see how this mascot has progressed over the last, almost 70 years. There's been quite a few changes in the mascot. And Jeff, just to kind of start us off, I'm going to go ahead and have us toss to a teaser video I put together, about 30 seconds, so people can get an idea of what they're going to see in this episode.
Great.
Was overwhelming. They wanted a Saluki.
It isn't a common breed, so a lot of people think that they're just like any other breed, and they're really not.
They have full sets of real-looking canine teeth.
We have a new intro too, by the way. People, we got a fancy new intro thanks to WSIU. They really did us a solid on that.
So Anna, for those of you who have never seen this yet, and this is your first time, that 30-second clip kind of gave you an idea of what we're all about. We're about the mystery. We're about discovery. We all love to tell fishing stories, so we're going to kind of maybe put some truth behind it. But just obviously your office is just down the hall from mine, so through osmosis I've heard or learned a little bit about this story. Were there some things that surprised you, or do you think there'll be some things that people will be, oh wow, I didn't know that?
Yes, because the Saluki story is a really big one here on campus. People talk about it a lot. And there are some things, once you really start to get into the weeds of it, that are surprising. Dee Dee's going to get into the maroons. SIU called a lot of different things at the beginning. The normal, the Southerners, the maroons, and People used to say, oh, the Maroons, that's just kind of a boring name. We need a new mascot. There's actually much more to the story there, and kind of, some dark history behind it a little bit, but that also turns positive thanks to, again, her father, who really was an amazing man. I wish I had met him. I mean, just very smart. The man behind the mascot is just like one of those people that I imagine would know everything. I mean, this guy, as his Christmas present, would get an almanac every year and would read it cover to cover. So that kind of gives you an idea of the man behind this mascot. And he delved deep into the research and really came up with something that was so meaningful that when the students voted for a mascot, it was a landslide for the Saluki. So we're going to really get into his story, kind of what sparked him to change and find a new mascot, because he dug deep into some history that really made him say, hey, we need a real mascot. He wanted it to be something alive. So that's a surprising one. It takes to take care of Salukis is going to surprise you. I mean, these are very special dogs. We saw in that teaser video that Vicky, who keeps the current Salukis, she's like, these aren't like other breeds. And she's going to explain why, is because they're very, very particular dogs is the way to explain it.
So one other aspect of the story I believe that you'll talk a little bit about is, we're all used to seeing gray dog. Mm-hmm. And I know at one time there was brown dog.
That's right.
Does brown dog make does brown dog make the storyline here as well?
We see a little bit of brown dog, but brown dog's always been kind of in the background. As I really started digging through records back to 1951, I think, and I'm talking like old daily Egyptian magazines, alumni magazines, you really just don't see a lot of brown dog, which I guess that surprised me a little bit too. I was thought it would be more of a balance, but brown dog has always kind of been on the back burner a little bit. Even, when you go back, and brown dog goes back to the early 60s. We see costumes. We're going to see the costumes from the early 2000s in this episode. Brown dog is a part of it, but even modern day, brown dog kind of takes a back seat a little bit. So we see a lot of gray dog in this.
So one of the things that I always wondered, and I've heard different versions of the story. This is where you kind of get into your fishing stories, is that gray dog was always reserved for as a male dog, and brown dog was considered the female dog. And that was the myth. Now, are we going to shed some truth to this at all?
I think that there's a lot of questions about that. What is the identity of these dogs? What is their gender? And honestly, you could ask people and get a different answer every time. We actually, our cheerleading coach here did a full research paper on this, where she polled people about, do you think gray dog is a female or male? What do you think about brown dog? It was predominantly people thought gray dog was male, and predominantly people thought brown dog was female. So, and that seems kind of about right. Some people, but when you ask people about the relationship between the two, surprisingly, a lot say they are brother and sister or work colleagues. So it's not a love interest type thing, is the general perception of the mascot. But there's a lot of pretty extensive research on that and what it should be. But I think people kind of adopt their own idea, really, of what gray dog and brown dog can be, anything you want them to be.
Well, I know there's a rigorous tryout for all of this, and there's some competition for all this, and it's quite secretive as well.
It is. It's a very interesting process becoming gray dog. They really are a special group. Now, gray dog, both mascots are connected to the spirit team. That includes the dancers and the cheerleaders, and they are all really a very connected group. They got a lot of chemistry, and they really support each other and support keeping the idea of gray dog as anonymous. And that's really meant for children. They want to keep the magic alive that way. And so I spoke with Gray Dog off camera. So Gray Dog doesn't reveal his name or his face. And it doesn't even do interviews on camera or audio. So I spoke with him on the side, and he says, I mean, he's very careful about not taking his mask off anywhere near people that shouldn't see him without his mask. So it is really special. It's part of the allure of being the mascot.
Well, Anna, that might be maybe one of my favorite parts coming up is you talking to Grey Dog.
Yeah, it's really fun to see. You know, he told me a little bit about his routine. They've got a ritual he does before the games. I mean, it's really like an athlete. And actually, according to our research we've done at the university, people do perceive Grey Dog as athletic. And you have to be athletic if you're going to work that costume, you know, get out there in the games. And so it was really a pleasure to get to see that and to see how passionate people are about Grey Dog. Like, I can tell you the current mascot loves it. I mean, it is something you live, breathe, and love. That's for sure.
Okay, so I'm getting excited and anxious. Is there any parting words for our audience in regards to maybe one last thing that you want people to either pay attention to, look for, or just know about this episode?
Absolutely. I think that really just as you're watching it is experience the characters in this. We've got some really special people that are participating in this Saluki Sleuths, including, like I mentioned, Dee Dee, who's the daughter of the man who created this, and she shares this story from the bottom of her heart. I mean, the people who we spoke with in this episode are so connected to this, and they really have a wonderful story to tell. So I hope people can enjoy and appreciate that and hear from those that do so much to keep the magic alive, both the costume and the live dogs. It really is something. I mean, just the spirit of the university is in the hands of really just a few people when you think about it. I mean, and they keep the magic going. And so I just hope people really enjoy that, our interviewees who were part of this.
Well, we'll close out by, I do want to thank all those who participated in this episode. I can't say enough for Dee Dee's history. I appreciate Sydney and Toski for helping us orchestrate getting Grey Dog. The Blair family for everything that they do with the real Salukis. To both of those groups, we thank all of them for being a part of what we do, just in spreading the Saluki spirit and making people feel so good about SIU and the mascot itself. So I'll just close out by saying, if you have ideas about future episodes, please send those to either Anna or myself. We'd love to hear your fishing story and put some truth behind it. We're always open to new ideas and new suggestions and your feedback about each of these episodes. So, Anna, if you're good, we're going to go. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find this, and then we'll go right to it?
Absolutely. Yep. So this is posted live on all of our social media channels, our Facebook and our Twitters. So where you're watching this now, it is posted and it's ready. YouTube is also another great way to get it. SIU Alumni on all the channels. So hope you enjoy it. And like Jeff said, please let us know what you think.
All right. Well, Anna, thanks for everything. And Caleb back in the studios and the soundboard for making us look and sound so great. But to all of you for watching, thank you and your interest. And as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.